Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Grief Angels podcast. I am so excited to say those words because it has been a long time coming. We haven't shot an episode since February of this year. A lot has happened. Some of you may know about it, some of you may not. But we are back on air. This is season 2 of the podcast, and this is our first episode. And the episode today is just allowing yourself time to grieve and actually putting in the work to grieve. What that looks like for different people. We're going to explore a couple of questions. We're going to talk to a beautiful guest of mine who took time off work. So if you obviously know with losing somebody, especially for those of us who might be employed, the employer will always give you time to go and deal with that. But is that time really enough? And then there's an expectation that when you come back to the office, you should be good, you should be okay to go, you should be as productive as you were even. But 3 days of compassionate leave or 5 days of leave is not enough, and we will get to hear that story. We know people who have struggled with when they went back to the office. We know people who buried themselves in work as part of distraction. People do different things, but today we're exploring taking time off from work to grieve and how much time do you even need? It's different for different people. So I'd like to introduce my guest, Gillianne. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It is so nice to have you here.
I'm so glad to be back.
Thank you. Yes, we did the Mother's Day shoot together.
Yes.
That was really, really nice. So now that I've already preempted the Mother's Day shoot, maybe talk to us about your story. Mm-hmm. You've lost your mom. Mm-hmm. When was that? Obviously, how long after that did you jump back into the office, and how was that like for you? Which is why we're here today. Yeah.
First of all, thank you so much for having me here today.
Welcome.
I'm really, really happy and so glad to share my story.
Yeah.
And I hope that it will help somebody out there one way or another.
Yeah.
My name is Gillianne Onuko, as she has mentioned. And I lost my mother in December 2020, exactly 2 years and 10 months today, exactly on the 14th. And so I'll take us back just 3 months prior to her passing.
Okay.
I've dived right into the story.
I know.
Deep into it.
Just get into it.
So 3 months prior to,
yeah,
I had started complaining that work is a bit stressful, feeling like it's a bit high pressure. So my mother just said, you know what, just quit. If you want to quit, just leave, you know. And we prayed about it in my bedroom. She said, it's your decision, but if you're feeling really pressured, it's okay to leave.
Yeah.
You can come home.
Yeah.
You will try and find an alternative. You're really good at what you do. So don't be scared to jump ship. And I told her, no, I want to hang on.
Yeah.
And so she said, okay, cool. That was in October. In November, she falls sick, goes to ICU. She stays in for 2 weeks, and she passes on December. When she passed on, the reality hit that things are about to shift for us. As a family and even as an individual. Our mother was the pillar of the home. She was the provider for a very long time. She went above and beyond to make sure we had everything we needed. School, work, just the small privileges that she would afford us. And we were really happy and content, and we were very comfortable in knowing my mother is always present, you know, to provide for me at all times. Yeah. She really played her role fully and 100%. Yeah. So when she passed on, in that moment during the grieving period, when people are coming to the home, people are saying, Pole, we are burying, the burial plans are going on. You're really not thinking about the repercussions of her death.
Exactly.
So in that moment, we were just winging it. We're just going with the flow as usual. And it was until after, when I was back at home, just in Shags, burial has ended, people have left, so we have just a couple of friends, like 2, 3, or there were about 5 at most, who had stayed back to stay with us for a bit longer than when everyone else left. And every morning I would wake up and ask myself, okay, what next? What next?
Yeah.
How are we surviving? My dad has retired.
Yeah.
One of my siblings had lost their job during COVID because there were a lot of layoffs then. My small sister was in school. So at this particular juncture, it's just myself and one of my elder sisters.
We're
We're 4 girls.
Yeah.
So one has lost a job. One is still in university. There's only 2 of us left.
Yeah.
My dad is a retiree.
Yeah.
My mother was going to retire this year. This would have been her 60th year.
Okay.
And so 0 income from my mother.
Yeah.
That's one income deducted from our home.
I know.
So there was no room in that moment to think I could leave work.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have I was like, how does my sister study?
Exactly.
She's in university, she's in Strathmore.
Yeah.
So it's expensive, of course.
Yeah.
The education is not cheap. So I thought, I just have to carry my grief as it is and move on with it.
Yeah.
So I quickly jumped back into work.
How long
like you
after?
said, leave days were just, I got 8 days. It took us 10 days to bury my mother. So there was a 2-day deficit.
Yeah.
Where I had to borrow from my leave days.
Yeah.
To top that up.
Yeah.
And then during the pandemic, I really went back to work really quickly. So I had gathered a lot of leave days compared to those who were working from home. It was a blessing in disguise. It's like God planned all this somehow.
Yeah.
That I had so many days by the time it was December.
Yeah.
Because I didn't take leave again. In the office were just 2. Literally,
So you had a lot of time
Yeah,
to...
and we would rotate. I'm doing this week. The other colleague does the other week.
Okay.
So it was 1 week home, 1 week
Okay.
at work. So I quickly jumped back into work in January.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because she died, we buried on the 24th of December. So Christmas is really a tough
Christmas
season.
isn't Christmas anymore.
This last quarter is usually the hardest.
Yeah.
But quickly jumped back into work January about 10th or 11th, if I'm not wrong. I was back at work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let me stop you there for you to even take a breather.
Yeah.
Because you've touched on so many different things, and one of the ones that you've touched on is a conversation that we're actually about to have in our next episode, which is on secondary loss. Because one of the things that people don't realize, when loss happens, you see the primary loss. The death of that person is a primary loss. Every other thing that you lose because that person died is a secondary loss. And one of the things that is quickly seen is the financial support that maybe the person gave you.
Yes.
Or as simple as even a spouse who helped you change bulbs and now you can't, or somebody who made the best chapatis and now you can't. So there's a lot of things that people lose after that, or even that connection. So we'll talk about secondary loss in our next episode. But Gillianne, going back into work, I've seen people do different things. I've seen people hit work so hard because it helps them distract themselves from the reality of the loss and dealing with the emotions of grief. The minute you walk into the office and you start, I hope this email finds you well.
Yeah.
Up to 5 p.m. when you log off and then you go back home and deal with it. So what was it like for you? But I also see people who struggle completely with work and you cannot obviously leave your grief at home. We wish we could just pack it somewhere, go be our best selves, then come back and pick it up. But your grief follows you to work and you're crying in the corridors, you're crying, somebody says something that triggers you. So how was it for you?
January was smooth sailing.
Yeah.
I believe.
Okay.
I would want to convince my head that it was smooth sailing because everyone is a bit wishy at work. Everyone is like, how you doing?
Yeah.
You're not seeing people physically because guys have not resumed work yet.
It's
So
COVID.
those who are in the office are like, how can we help?
Support.
Do you want something? But at no one point were you supposed to be 2 people from the same department at the same time. So also interacting became less and lesser. So I had time to just be in my office, in my small cubicle and just cry if I needed to cry, break down if I needed to break down.
Okay.
And just take a walk around the building if I needed to take a walk.
Yeah.
But like you said, grief doesn't leave you. It walks with you everywhere you go to. When you see that email, and it's not every day is a good day at work. There are days your boss is on your neck. Yeah. I'm in a corporate space. It's one of the top tier firms at this particular point. If you know the rumors about top tiers, it's high pressure work. It's very high pressure work. So there's a minute where you really can't, there's nothing you can do. Your grief has really taken over you and you're stranded, you're stuck. I had to come up with coping mechanisms that were not very healthy for me in that moment. I spoke to one of my bosses from the innovation department who I was close to, and I told them, hey, I'm struggling at work. He was not my immediate boss, but he would have an influence
on your immediate
my
boss.
Immediate boss and kind of buffer me a little bit if I needed a bit of buffering. But come February, the bosses are expecting you to move now. Like, you can't
like,
keep
we can't
crying
be
anymore.
at this forever.
Like, what do you mean?
Chop, let's go.
Why are you still crying?
Yeah.
Like, pick yourself up.
Yeah.
So that is when I felt I'm really alone in this.
Yeah.
Work became both a bitter and a sweet space for me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to be at home either.
Yeah.
Home, I'm seeing my dad, I'm seeing my sisters, I'm seeing... It reminds me of my mother's absence because I'm still living in the same house where I would live with my mom. I hadn't moved out yet. So home was not conducive and neither was work. But at the same time, I couldn't quit.
Yeah.
We have no finances for this to sustain our lives.
So that's a very common dilemma that people have, which is, and for you it even began before she died, work isn't conducive for you. It stopped being that for you for even before.
Yeah.
The grief comes and amplifies that. So if you're in a work environment that's not very supportive, and some people get, again, both. You could have a very supportive boss, or you could have a boss who says, we are sorry that this happened, but where's the report that I asked for 2 days ago? But even if people begin to understand, and again, an upcoming pod is the physical effects of grief on us, because grief is such a high intense time or moment or emotions on you as a person. There's a lot that's happening inside your body from the overproduction of different hormones that then do something, either motivate you to go to work or completely take away the energy and the excitement and the anything. So from weight loss to overweight, there's a lot that's happening inside you. So when you're not able to separate then that and coming to the office and showing up and you could be the best performer today at work, but grief is grief.
Yes.
So I really hope that if somebody's out there today and is going through this same dilemma that she had, that all of us have struggled with, because I also have struggled with that sometime in my grief journey. My prayer for anyone out there is, my goodness, you need to find a supportive environment. And for you, it's even as simple as identifying, my immediate boss might not be my source of help or support in this one, but somebody else in the team or somebody else in the office can be. So seek out, obviously, somebody who can be that buffer that you want to help you carry through. But let's go back to your story. At what point did it get so crazy to the place you're like, I'm not doing this anymore? And how did you get to that decision, knowing everything you had to balance from supporting the family that has been left behind, because there's a lot of responsibility on you as a person. We call it deputy parent in our parental support group. Because you've taken over, because you're not your sister's mother, right? The one who's at university.
Yeah.
But then you almost assume such responsibility of taking care of her. And nobody has told you that you're the one to do it. But there's just this pressure on you as a person, because you're like, you can see it and it's reality. So at what point did you marry that dilemma of, I need to support, but I cannot continue this way? Something has to give. Yeah.
Just before I answer that question, when we were admitting my mom in hospital on the 22nd of November, she calculated everything. And she said, I've paid school fees till 4th year, but there's only 1 semester missing.
Okay.
I have made sure her insurance has been catered for. I have done 1, 2, 3. So she asked, what else have I not done? We gave her, we said 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. She said, you girls can handle it.
Okay.
So I think from that perspective, it naturally became my instinct to, she said we have to. And she said she's already done the bulk of the work.
Yeah.
What's left is very little.
Yeah.
She was only about, I think, in 3rd year, 1st semester.
Okay,
something.
so something really.
And she had already paid till 4th year.
Okay.
So the difference is very little. But still much for someone. I'm not earning $1 million either. And I'm not earning close to what my mother was earning. So I still cannot afford it.
Yeah.
But so for that year, I pretty much engaged in work for myself and also for my sister and my family, to sustain the family, to try and keep the same standard my mother kept.
Yeah.
And for myself, it was more of just a scapegoat. And a scapegoat for me where I can go and just do the work that I need to do and go back home. At least have a moment where something is distracting my head.
Yeah.
I'm focusing on a report, I'm focusing on sending out emails, I'm focusing on something.
Yeah.
But slowly by slowly, you cannot ignore your grief even if you wanted to.
Okay.
It keeps weighing down on you. Remember, I'm not doing therapy. I'm not taking time to speak to anyone about my emotions or where I'm at. Everybody is expecting you to have moved on.
Yeah.
Move on.
Quickly.
Yeah, let's not dwell here. So I would journal a lot on my Facebook. If you go to my Facebook page, I used to really write my everyday like emotions. And whether
That
it's in
helped you?
Yeah, yes, it did.
Yeah, it
did.
always does.
In that moment, I felt like, I've shared my story. Anyone who wants to read, you read.
Yeah.
If you comment, you comment. If you inbox me, I'll respond. We'll have a conversation about it. And so for that particular year, 2021, I spent my entire year on Facebook, just journaling and writing down how I felt
was your
about
outlet.
things.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. It became a safe space for me where I could just share how I felt.
Yeah.
But at this time, when you're at work, you're thinking, I need more work. I need better things. I need something more distracting, I want... But at the same time, because you're not receiving it, and it's also still the environment where I had, as I mentioned, that it was somehow not working for me initially, even prior to my mom's death.
Yeah.
And so all the issues I was still highlighting to her on that night when we were talking and we were praying were now becoming bigger and bigger. Not because situation had changed at the office, but because now I'm doing an environment where I already felt like there was something missing, and now my mother has left. And she was the person I would consult about these things.
Yeah.
So I have no one.
Yeah.
Work,
the right hand is no longer
yes,
there. Yeah.
Work is still the same.
Yeah.
And I kept hearing her telling me, leave.
Okay.
Like we had the conversation.
Okay. Did you ever feel like you were letting her down though? If you left and... Yes, she's sort of okayed you can leave because it's not healthy for you any longer. But then now there's this responsibility that you've been left with. Did you ever feel like if I quit my job, I'm going to let down my parents?
That came later.
Okay.
I did not intend to leave for a year.
Yeah. Okay.
I was only going to take a 1 month break.
Okay.
And jump right back into the workspace. How it ended up
1
being
month
a
became
year.
1 year.
1 month turned into a whole year.
Okay.
And in that year is where I felt like I don't think I made the right choice.
Okay.
I should not have jumped out.
Okay.
I think this was grief.
Okay.
I don't think it was even the work environment. Like I had a lot of those negative thoughts. And I'm just thinking, you told us to take care of the home.
Okay.
Now I don't have a job. I am also a dependent in this house.
There's a lot of guilt with that
yes.
also. Yeah.
So that came way later.
Okay.
But while I was at work, all I could hear is just, it's okay to leave if you want to leave. You're a brilliant girl. You will find someone as another job, because I always got jobs. Like somehow throughout my career, I've always been on and off work. On and off work. Like I can jump.
There's never like a big gap.
There's never a big gap.
Yeah.
Unless if it's a big gap, I'm in school.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So then you decide to wake up and quit, and you go and tell your bosses, it's a wrap. I am done. Not doing this. Feeling very peace. How was that?
That was a back and forth, to be honest. First, I tabled it with my family, of course, because they'll be the most affected at this point.
Yeah.
And my dad said, think about it.
Okay.
Really think about it. There was a push and pull for almost 2-3 months before I quit. There was a bit of a push and pull between my dad, my siblings, and why I should quit, why I should leave, what will I do next?
Yeah.
What do you want to do? Why is the work not working for you? How can we help you and support you so it can be easier for you? There was a heavy conversation that was had at home.
Okay.
And eventually we came to a place where we had a common ground. They said, listen, if it's too much, it's okay.
Okay.
We'll support you. If that's your decision.
Because it wasn't also healthy for you
decision.
Mentally and emotionally at this point.
Yes.
So then...
Yes. So they said, it's okay. At this point, you've convinced us that this decision, you have made this solid decision. There's nothing we can do about it that can change your mind.
Okay.
Then that's when I went to have the conversation with my boss.
Yeah.
Yes. So by the time I'm going to my boss, I'm solid. Me, I know I'm leaving.
You have the support
but
of
if
the
you
people that
convince
matter.
me, I might just stay.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. I kept that option open.
Okay.
So we had a conversation with my immediate boss. I told her, I'm not feeling like this environment is good for me anymore. I would like some time off. These are the reasons why I'm saying work for me is not it right now. And let me tell you something that I came to realize now during this 1 year break. As I was leaving, my reasons for leaving work was not working for me. I had not acknowledged that it was my grief that was affecting my ability to even perform at work. And so without me performing, then my bosses can see. Yeah, and they can easily pinpoint and say something is amiss.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, but why are you?
But
I should
have you
be
forgotten
home.
that
Yeah.
I just went
Mbona
through a break?
mnanitesa na mama yangu amekufa?
Yeah, how
You know,
dare
like,
you guys?
how dare you? Amunione huruma.
Yeah.
Like, at that point, I didn't think it was my grief,
Yeah.
to be honest, when I was leaving.
Yeah.
Even, I remember the last interview, she asked me, is your grief something that has led to you making this decision? And I said, no. What do you mean, my grief? No, it can't be my grief. I've handled my grief very well for a year.
That's what you thought.
Yeah, I've been here for a year and I've been doing everything you've needed me to do.
Yeah,
So grief can't be a reason. If it was a reason, I'd have left last year when my mother actually died.
Yeah.
This is in 2022. She died 2020.
A year later.
Yeah. So I told her, no, it's not. It can be a reason, but it's not right at the top. I have other reasons at the top that just made me want to leave.
Yeah.
And she said, okay. So I put in my resignation and I said, I'm out.
Okay.
Yeah.
At that time, the plan for you was to take a month off.
Yes.
And then find new work.
Yes.
So I'm guessing you went into it, yes, resting and waking up and just chilling, but also now actively looking for something else.
Job.
Yeah. How did that turn into a year of not doing anything?
When I left work, I took that entire March, because I left on March 7th. And 2 days before handing in, now going to do the completely
Clearance.
I'm done, clearance, now I'm out. I switched off my phone.
Yeah.
You couldn't reach me. I was not available on social media. I was not available on call. I was not available on text, nothing. If you don't know my sister's number, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You can't reach me. Or you don't know my house,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you can't reach me. So I decided I'm just going to take 1 month of silence, absolute silence in my bedroom.
Yeah.
And I sat in my room night and day. I watched movies. I cried. I prayed. This whole time, I'm still not accepting that I need to go for therapy or that I need to talk to anyone about my grief. I wanted to deal with it myself. I wanted to carry the pain and the burden of my decisions and the repercussions of my mother leaving by myself. So I really isolated myself 100% up until April. And even in that season, I was telling God, please tell me what you want me to do. Because I left without a plan. I knew I was going to take a month, but I know jobs don't come easy. We're in a time when jobs are not readily available.
Yeah, people are being let go and layoffs and happening everywhere.
And also remember, if there was anyone that would have had an influence, it
on
would have
her
been
next
my
job.
mother.
Yeah.
You know, if I think
With
about
her connections, she knew somebody who knew somebody.
Yeah. If I was really struggling to find something, I can just tell my mom, hey, I'm struggling.
Yeah.
Able call
someone.
Yeah. Who do you know to assist? Yeah. So, and now she's not there. So I'm really supposed to find these jobs on my own. I'm supposed to go talk to the people that I want to talk to find this job.
Okay.
So come April, I still don't feel like it. Now I'm in the depression bit of grief.
Yeah.
Where I just want to still sit by myself, do nothing, just idle, sit. I had a savings, so I'm still chopping my money, small. I can order a burger here. I can eat a biscuit here.
Yeah.
I can go out and drink a bit if I want to.
Yeah.
Like I'll still seeing myself as if I'm niko sawa too. I can still continue to take a break. I'm fine. My sisters are encouraging me. They're telling me, listen, you're doing okay.
Yeah.
I know you'll jump back in.
Yeah.
And that's how we ended up in a year later.
Do you sort of mentioned you shouldn't have? Is there regret there?
I don't regret because where I'm at now, I'm happier.
Okay.
Yes.
So it was worth it in the end?
It was worth it in the end. But in that moment when you're having a financial crisis.
Of course.
Because the money ends.
Because how did you
at some
keep
point.
yourself sane that 1 year? So what was the 1 year looking like for you? Did you go to therapy eventually?
No.
Okay.
Till today, I still haven't gone for therapy.
And how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So I did a really lengthy therapy between November 2016 and July 2017.
Okay.
And the skills that I got, the things that I discovered about myself, I felt like I could carry the grief on my own.
Okay.
And that is different for everybody else.
It is very
worked
different
for me because I can carry my
because
emotions.
you had been through therapy even before.
Yes.
Let me ask you, when you went back to work now after the year sabbatical, was it different from what the previous job was?
Yes.
Yeah.
I am more resilient now.
Okay.
Yes. I have a lot of emotional intelligence
Okay.
now.
Okay.
I know when I'm projecting.
Okay.
I know when I need to take a step back.
You know when it's grief that's causing a certain
this.
reaction or a certain
Yes.
emotion at you.
Yes.
Okay.
I've become a better version of myself.
Okay.
Altogether. When I look at that 2021, who I was, I can't recognize that girl.
Okay.
At work.
So what would you tell somebody who is currently contemplating leaving work? Because it's just you've already explained what it was like for you, and for me in a previous job, there was no motivation to wake up to go to work. Your performance starts to dip. People are beginning to see that, and the thoughts of leaving. But at the end of the day, it's that dilemma with the financial responsibilities that you carry versus, can I just take time off to grieve? What would you tell somebody who is not in a place to take a year off, but they're thinking about, do I need to change this? What would you tell them?
We had a conversation earlier.
Yes, we did.
And I said, my story comes from a very privileged part.
Yeah.
Not everyone has the luxury of leaving work for a year and be comfortable and be here today and still talk about their grief like nothing happened. We don't have that.
Yeah.
I'm very, very privileged
to
have been afforded the opportunity to take 1 year off. Part of which was my chunk of money that I had saved during the time I was working that could sustain me. The emergency funds they talk about. It didn't reach 6 months, but it was good enough to keep me going for a while. Remember, I'm isolating, so there's no money I'm spending as much. Surround yourself with friends. A supportive group is very important. Whether it's your father, your mother, your sister, if it's a brother, if it's a friend, they have really stood in the gap for me. Even financially.
So the support is important.
Support is important. Before making that decision, analyze your environment first. What kind of environment will you be going into?
Exactly.
As you leave work, as you try to sustain yourself in this crazy Nairobi or crazy Kenya or crazy world of ours. What kind of environment do you want to move to? They say have a plan, but sometimes grief just catches you off guard.
It does.
So you've not planned anything. If you decide to leave, jump ship. I'll tell you jump ship if you're confident enough in the decision that you're making. If you're confident enough to know that, you know what, I'll bounce back. And work on yourself while in that period that you've taken off.
Exactly.
Take a bit of time out. Even if you exhaust all your leave days, take it.
But in that leave days,
immerse yourself in your grief.
Literally
sit in it, cry in it, deal with it.
We should hire you at
Do everything. Do everything you need to do with your grief. And come out stronger.
Thank you so much, Gillian. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today. And I keep saying, if you don't deal with it, you will not heal from it. Like the only way to actually get your way towards some semblance of healing is dealing. So do not ignore your grief. Show up for your grief means choosing you and saying, this environment I'm in is not working for me. What do I need to change? You've seen people do dramatic things like color their hair red. Because you're looking for some change in your life that you want to be in control of. So figure out what it is that you need to do if you're contemplating leaving work. Talk to somebody at work first. Talk to your mentors. Talk to people within your network. Try and see what others have done. Try therapy even before jumping ship, Then if it's for your mental peace and mental wellness, jump ship if the environment is not conducive. But then have a plan. Have a supportive network around you, because those are the guys that are going to hold you down when things get rough, whether it's financially or it's emotionally. Those guys will cover you. Join a support group somewhere. Simply just show up for your grief.
Join Grief Angel support
group.
Grief Angel support group.
Why are you telling them support a group? No, it's here. It's very international. Some people might not be. We should do Zoom. But we do Zoom, actually. We do Zoom. In fact, we have somebody from our sibling law support group from the UK. And she's joined every single week. Hi, Jackie. But anyway, thank you guys so much. See you next time at Grief Angels Podcast. Bye.
Bye-bye.